stress management techniques for busy professionals that actually work. So if you're like most busy professionals, you probably have gone to like a stress management workshop or read some articles online on stress management or tried, some other things to help manage your stress, maybe medication or therapy, and either had no success at all or had success for a short period of time, or like it helped a little bit but really didn't move the needle and you're not sure what to do. And if that resonates at all, first of all, I want to say you are not broken. The problem is the advice you were getting was probably not from someone who has lived your life. And if you are wondering how I know, let me introduce myself. My name is Diana. On here I go by the Glow Up Guru, and I'm a triple certified master life coach who loves helping people live lives that feel as good as they look. So if you are someone who already has a life that looks amazing on the outside and you just want to make it feel the same way on the inside, this channel is for you. So my professional background is that I'm an attorney, and my very first big girl job was for Goldman Sachs, where I worked very long hours in a very high stress environment. And one thing that became very clear to me is the type of people who are generally giving stress management advice had never lived the life I lived. And so the advice that they gave probably worked for someone with less stress, but wasn't enough for someone with the level of stress I had. If you are someone whose decisions impact business segments that make millions or sometimes even billions of dollars, if you're someone who has to think clearly because if you don't, people lose their jobs, or because the stock price of the company is going to go up or down, like surface level stress management techniques probably are not going to work for you. Okay. You need something stronger. Okay. Straight up, no chaser. And that's what this video is going to deliver. I am a stress management expert. And so today I'm going to talk to you about what stress is, why you struggle with it, and what actually makes it go away. A lot of these stress management techniques out there just talk about symptoms of the problem. And in this video, I want to give you root causes so that you can have a solution, even when everybody else's hair is on fire. Before I get into it, I want to do a quick intermission and just say, if you like my bracelet, which I love, it's from my jewelry line. It's my Ruka bracelet. It's pearls and crystals. And the jewelry line is dianabando.com. And it started during a trip to Bali a couple years ago. So if you want to, get some unique jewelry, dianabando.com, use code VIP20 and you'll get 20% off. Okay, so back to the topic at hand, managing your stress when you're busy as shit and, the surface level stuff doesn't work for you. So first of all, what is stress? Here's where I think a lot of the advice goes wrong, because it talks about stress in like some abstract way. Like, let me just give it to you in a very concrete nuts and bolts, okay? When people use the word stress, what they're really talking about is a manifestation, okay, which is just what you can see on the outside, of your sympathetic nervous system being activated. What activates the sympathetic nervous system? A perception in your body that you are in danger. And that danger can be physical danger, it can be emotional danger, it can be reputational danger, it can be financial danger. Anytime something happens that makes you feel like you are either in danger or danger is imminent, your sympathetic nervous system gets activated. When the sympathetic nervous system is activated, we say, I'm stressed, I'm stressing, I'm stressed out, you seem stressed. But what you're really saying, okay, like the technical term is your sympathetic nervous system, which is just a part of your autonomic nervous system, which is the sympathetic and the parasympathetic. The sympathetic is activated. The more common term for the sympathetic nervous system is the fight or flight response. And I say the more common term because the more accurate description is fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. If you want a video on the fawn response, comment below and I'll tell you more about that. But basically what happens is when the sympathetic nervous system gets activated, the part of your brain that helps you think creatively, expansively, find solutions, solve problems, gets shut down. That part of your brain is called the prefrontal cortex, and the supply of blood that it needs to function optimally basically gets hijacked. So think about like the part of your brain that like you need to think like clearly, rationally, calmly is like duct tape in the trunk of the car. Okay, that's what happens when you're stressed out, which is also why you're more likely to make mistakes, like careless ones, and you're like, why didn't I, or forget things, or not be able to come up with solutions as quickly, because the part of your brain that helps you fix things, that helps you not do stupid things, is literally duct tape in the trunk of the car. And unless you know how to get it out of the trunk, you're kind of stuck in this holding pattern. A lot of people think that they do their best work when they're stressed out. That is actually false. You do your best work when you are relaxed, when you go into a flow state. When you're stressed out, what actually is happening is you're experiencing a surge of adrenaline, and so you're getting more of a high. And so the process of like getting things done feels more exciting. So it's not that you're doing your best work, it's just that you're getting more of a high when you work in a state where there's a deadline, under the wire. And that adrenaline can also trigger the release of dopamine, which is like that feel-good neurotransmitter that makes you, feel naturally happy. It's also the neurotransmitter behind all known addictions. So dopamine is great, but if you were doing things that are not contributing to your long-term health to trigger the release of dopamine, then it can be problematic. So anyway, stress. When people say, oh, I just do my best work under stress, not true. You do your best work when your prefrontal cortex is getting optimal blood flow. That only happens when you are relaxed. But when you're stressed, it's just more lights, camera, action, drama. So it feels more exciting. So that's why people think they do their best work, but it's just not true. So anyway, prefrontal cortex, blood flow's cut off, sympathetic nervous system is activated. Why do you care? Well, when the sympathetic nervous system is activated, your body is saying, okay, we are in survival mode. Everything non-essential shut down. All we're focused on is survival. And so your body's natural healing process shut down. Digestion gets shut down. Blood flow in its normal patterns gets shut down, and blood just goes to certain things to help you react, which is why you actually can have more physical strength when you're stressed out. Your ability to accurately think, hear, and see is altered because that prefrontal cortex is not getting the blood flow it needs. So if you've ever been in a tense situation and you say something and the person says, well, you just said, and you're like, no, I didn't. It's not that you said it, it's that it's what they heard. And the reason it's what they heard is because their prefrontal cortex was duct taped in the trunk of the car. So they couldn't think accurately, they couldn't hear accurately. And so instead of accurately perceiving what you said, they're perceiving the world and you through the lens of this altered reality that you step into when your sympathetic nervous system is activated. So this is fabulous when you are in physical danger, but when you're not in physical danger, it's terrible. It's terrible. It can cause you to like send off triggered emails, to say no to deals that actually would be totally beneficial for you and your client, to do crazy things like in the middle of a divorce, like slash someone's tires, or, I'm a former divorce attorney. I have a former client who literally smashed her ex-husband's windshield with a hammer because he wouldn't unlock the car. I'm not commenting, I'm just saying what happened, okay? But maybe he should have unlocked the car, I don't know. Anyway, so it makes you do things that questionable legality, questionable how reasonable they are, but in the moment you just don't care. So what is the takeaway here? If you're in physical danger, stress is great. If you're not in physical danger, not so great. So what do you need to do? Well, tip number one, to deactivate your sympathetic nervous system, you need to convince your body that you are safe. The call has to come from inside the house. So next time you are quote unquote feeling stressed, try repeating this mantra: I am safe. And you can do any variations of that work for you. But the whole point is to send the message to your body, to your consciousness, that wherever it's detecting danger, it's like, turn off the smoke alarm. We're fine. We're okay. Just making pancakes here. The house is not on fire. So I am safe. Sometimes that is enough. And it'll be weird. Like, you might be like in a business negotiation or dealing with an email inbox that's overflowing, and it doesn't seem rational to say I am safe in response to that. But the reason why it works is because your sympathetic nervous system is a vestige of a world that has been gone for thousands of years. Our human body evolves and changes very, very slowly, but the world we live in evolves very quickly. If you think about just the last 100 years, right? The advances we've had in technology, air travel, the internet, all of these things mean that the world that our body is in now is very different than the world it was in 100 years ago. But our bodies have not changed that much in that time. So the sympathetic nervous system was originally part of the survival instinct from prehistoric days, and it would help you, oh, there's a lion coming. It would like activate you so that you would run and like get out of the way of danger so that you could hide before it would see you and eat you. Or maybe, someone ate a poisonous berry, and the next time you saw one that same shade of whatever color, you'd know not to eat it because last time someone ate it, they died. So you had this sympathetic nervous system activation designed to help you survive when there was danger. But now we live in a world where we don't really have to worry about saber-toothed tigers anymore. We don't really have to worry about eating poisonous berries because we can just go to the grocery store and eat food that for the most part won't kill us unless there's some like outbreak of salmonella or something. And so our bodies that change slowly are equipped for a world that doesn't exist anymore. And so rather than saying, okay, like we have Ring doorbells, we have modern technology, we're so much safer, our body seeks out danger in the world that we live in now. And so things like an overflowing email inbox, things like a contentious, divorce, a contested divorce or child custody battle, things like having a really big deal that's closing at work, where there isn't like necessarily like a ton of cellular history of these things, it still triggers the sympathetic nervous system in the same way as a lion. And so if you're in a meeting and you're feeling really triggered by the way people are looking at you, or if there's an email exchange where you just want to like throw your computer, know that your body is literally going back in time to prehistoric days, and it's responding as if a lion were approaching you or your child and trying to eat and kill you. And so you're not responding to the thing in the moment. You're letting your body know, hey, I know that you think that this is a crisis. It's actually not. We are safe. And this applies not just in work, not just in relationships, but also in your health. One of the ways that the sympathetic nervous system can get activated is if you're hungry. A lot of times we feel hunger and it triggers this panicked response. And it's like, oh my gosh, I have to eat. I'm feeling hungry. Why is that? It's because for a long time, one of the biggest threats to survival for humans was food scarcity. And now we live in a world where like literally, most people will never experience extended periods of food scarcity, at least, in the United States. Obviously, there's people who have food scarcity here, but for most people, it's very easy to go to a soup kitchen, food pantry, something like that. If for children, there's programs in public schools. Like there's more food than you could eat in a lifetime that's now available to you. And that is very, very new. And so hunger registers as a threat to survival, which is why it's like, oh my gosh, I must eat. But because we now live in a world where there's more food than you can eat in a lifetime, what has happened is most people are overweight, and the percentage of people who's overweight is like only increasing. Why? Because we think that hunger is an emergency, unless you train yourself to know that hunger is not an emergency. There's always going to be plenty of food. No need to panic, and a little bit of hunger won't kill you. Starvation is very different than a little bit of hunger, but a mild level of hunger, you know, if it's been under 24 hours since the last meal and you're hungry, you will not die if you don't eat right away. Your body can go a while without food. And there's actually benefits to, you know, going 12, 14, 16 hours without eating. There's a process called autophagy where your body begins to heal itself, and the decaying cells are eaten by healthier cells. That only happens after about 14 hours of fasting. And so if you're eating every single time that you're hungry, you're literally stopping your body from its natural healing process. So fasting and being in a calorie deficit are two very different things. Like, you can eat enough calories for the day in about 5 minutes. So I'm not talking about calorie restriction. You know, a lot of times when people say fasting, people think it's about cutting calories. You can be in a calorie surplus or in a calorie deficit while fasting. Two very different things. But intermittent fasting is really what I'm referring to, and going 12, 14, 16 hour periods with no food. Tons of health benefits. Look into it on your own. This video is about stress management, but I felt like I have to throw that in there because when I talk about stress management, what I'm talking about is your health, your finances, your relationships, your career, and your spiritual connection. Your stress levels impact all of these things. And so any comprehensive stress solution needs to address all of those. So tip number 1 is I am safe for all the reasons I just explained. That can help you deactivate that sympathetic nervous system. Another tip, which I've only heard like one other person mention this online, but it's to force yourself to move very slowly. Here's why. If you are in physical danger, you generally are going to move quickly. You're going to run, you're going to, you know, instinctually like reach for the gun if you're needing to shoot someone. I don't know why I did that. Anyway, but generally speaking, if you think you're in danger, you're going to want to like move rapidly to get away from the danger. Moving slowly suggests that you are safe and you are relaxed and you're just, you know, with your flowers and your little elixirs, your little art, little shopping bags, little pearls. Just relaxed. Ladies who lunch vibes. So moving slowly, even if you're just like in your chair, just forcing yourself to just move really slowly will help send the message to your body that you are no longer in danger. No need to freak out. Another tip that works, deep breaths, but the way I'm about to show you to do it. Breathing deeply deactivates the sympathetic nervous system. A lot of times people will say like, oh, just do 10 deep breaths, or like sometimes you need 10, sometimes you need 3. I don't care. I wouldn't tell you to count. I would just say breathe deeply, however long it takes, okay? But what I want you to do is initially breathe in for a count of 5, hold the breath for 5, exhale for 5, and I'll show you. So like inhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, hold the breath, 2, 3, 4, 5, powerful exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, relax, 2, 3, 4, 5, and repeat. So you're breathing in a box, like in for 5, hold for 5, out for 5, hold for 5. So it's like a structure like that. And once you've done that once or twice, then I want you to inhale, but with your intention, I want you to inhale whatever it is that you're feeling like you're needing in that moment to be safe. So inhale certainty, inhale love, inhale connection, inhale whatever it is that you are feeling like you're lacking. Tell yourself that you're inhaling that. And then when you exhale, I want you to exhale whatever it is that you're holding on to emotionally, energetically, spiritually, that isn't serving you, that's keeping you small, that's keeping you stuck. So you maybe will inhale certainty and connection and answers, and you'll exhale fear of failure, and you'll exhale anxiety, you'll exhale depression, whatever it is that you're like, I need to let go of this. Use your breath to let it go energetically. So, from the top, mantra, I am safe. Moving slowly, deep breaths, adding intention to your breath. And then, the next one, which is really the big one, is detecting the belief. So this is, kind of the grand, grand dom of all the stress management techniques, and the one that gets spoken about the least. But at the end of the day, your subconscious is what controls your emotions, right? So we have the conscious mind, which is, me thinking right now about stress and telling you all the things to manage the techniques like a ninja. And then there's the subconscious mind, which governs the majority of what you do. And the way to kind of manipulate the subconscious mind is by altering your core beliefs. And so whatever it is that you believe to be true, that is going to shape what you do, what you think, how you feel. And so I'll give you an example. Say that there's two parents, right? And they're both driving a car, and both cars are full of kids that are screaming at the top of their lungs and just being wild, okay? One parent has a belief that wildness and rambunctiousness is just a sign that the children feel safe in their presence and that they're happy and that they're just, being kids and living their best life while they're young. The other parent has a belief that behavior is a sign that they are such a bad parent that they cannot discipline these kids, and the kids are going to be a failure and they're not going to go far in life because they don't know how to act in a car. Same parents, same experience, different beliefs. Now you tell me, if they get out of the cars, right, and maybe drop off and they interact with each other and they're describing the car rides, they're going to be saying like, oh, this happened. Oh, for me too, me too, me too, me too. But then at the end of like comparing notes about what happened, the way that they're going to describe it is going to be so different. One parent is going to be like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad that these kids feel safe around me, and they're only kids for a small amount of time, and I just love, these are the moments I'm going to cherish forever. And the other parent is like, oh my God, these bleep, bleep, bleep kids, they're so terrible, they're not going to go far in life, it means I'm a terrible parent. Like, who's got the higher stress level? Like, they had identical experiences but totally different stress levels. Why? Because of their beliefs, okay? And that is what happens with you day in, day out. Every single situation that you are in, unless you were literally in physical danger, you would be less stressed out if you had different core beliefs about the situation. I'll give you an example. So about a year and a half ago, I was working on a case, and our client was, it's over. We were representing UPS, and it's a case where there was a dispute about a provision, a term, language in a lease agreement. And the question was, were they required to do this or not? The lease as written did say that they were required to do the thing. They just didn't want to do it. And so our job was to argue why they shouldn't have to. And I initially was like, well, the lease says this, they've got to do it. And my boss's response was, well, we've been hired to represent them, so come up with a reason why they don't have to do it. Okay, so example. If I had the core belief that I am not smart, I can't figure it out, I'm not very good at this is so hard, this is so unfair, we should just withdraw, what would happen, right? I would come up with some type of work product, and it probably wouldn't be very good, I don't know. But my core beliefs were, okay, this is hard, but I can do hard things, and I'm going to push myself, and I will come up with something, and it will be the best I can do, and I will be proud of myself for doing my best. Long story short, we won. And it was in federal court. And the winning arguments were ones that I came up with, about how the lease may have said explicitly blah, 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 but by applying established contract interpretation principles, the contract should be interpreted to say what, our clients were wanting it to say. And the judge in federal court agreed. So, example from my own life about how core beliefs literally saved a client millions of dollars in court, and a hypothetical example of how core beliefs will alter two hypothetical parents' experiences of driving in cars with noisy kids. What is the point? If you want to permanently alter your stress levels, you need to change your core beliefs about whatever it is that is triggering your stress levels. And if you want to know how to do that, book a session with me, a glow up coaching session. The details are in the description box, and I will walk you through how to find out what your core beliefs are. So kind of ways to kind of detect what they are is by looking at the things that you repeatedly saw, heard, and experienced as a child, because those things will shape your core beliefs. But once you are able to detect your core beliefs, then you can change them. One example of this is I had a client who's a very high performer, but she had a not so great habit of working past the point of exhaustion. And by the time she started working with me, she had gone on medical leave of absence twice from burning herself out. So we start working together, kind of trying to get to the root of everything. And what came up, which she didn't realize that this would be the beginning of a core belief. She had a memory of being in preschool and getting laughed at because she was in a new preschool. She was bilingual. And one of the kids in the class asked her a question. She answered in the wrong language, even though she's fluent in both the language that they spoke and the other language, because she didn't realize which words were for which language. So she answered in the wrong language. All the kids made fun of her. And as a result of that experience, she adopted a core belief that she was not very smart. And so in the session, I said, but can you see, looking back on that as an adult, that you were actually smarter than all of those children? Like, you spoke another language they didn't understand, so they decided that you must not be very smart, when the reality is you were the smartest one. And she's like, oh my God, I hadn't even thought of it. And this is somebody who's like in their late 30s, successful, has investments, all these things, walking around with a story that she's not very smart. And so because she had this belief that she wasn't very smart, she would push herself past the point of exhaustion, trying to prove how smart she was in school, in relationships, and finally in her career, to the point where it was compromising her health. And so by working through her life experience, I was able to pinpoint, this is the core belief, let's flip it with something supportive. And that empowered her to be able to work in ways where she could enjoy her success and not burn the candle at both ends, because she was no longer trying to prove the thing that had always been true, which is that she was highly intelligent. So if you are someone who is ready to once and for all master your stress, the way that you do it is by changing your core beliefs. And if you're not already skilled at identifying them, hire me. I will help you. And as a result, you will save a lot of time and energy that might otherwise be spent on medical leaves of absence, doctors, and just feeling like you're walking around with a piano on your chest because you're stressed out. We don't want that. I want you to glow up, and I'm here to help. So if you're ready, book a glow up coaching session. And if you're not ready to do that, one thing that will also help with identifying those core beliefs is my 7-day executive reset program. It is from a retired program called She's a Badass. That's no longer available online. But that 7-day executive reset program is designed to help you shut down the mental noise, clear out the mental clutter, and really take control of your thoughts, your lives, your feelings. And it also has core beliefs work so that you can kind of do some of that work on your own, so that you can start, enjoying your life more and not feeling like a prisoner in your own reality. So there you have it. Stress management techniques for busy professionals that actually work. And yeah, so let me know if you've heard any of these tips before, and let me know if you're going to try any of them. And yeah, that's all for now. See you in the next one. Bye.